I am Jocelyn, Jocelyn Stillwell Tong. I'm the 6th District's Law Librarian, the 6th District Court of Appeal in San Jose for California, not the 6th District for the federal. And I am here in lieu of Sarah Lynn, who's had a medical emergency. She is doing just fine. It's a routine procedure, but she is on bed rest while she's waiting for surgery, and so she could not be here today. So I am just stepping in at the last minute to be our presenter. Uh, and thank you all for coming out today. Thank you for joining us for NOCAL's 2021 Spring Institute. I'm so excited to be here with you in person on Zoom. My Spring Institute in 2019 looked very different from what we're doing today, but the program and the materials that are coming up are so wonderful, and it's a great opportunity for us to have some national voices coming to NOCAL, and getting a little bit of a spread out 4-day programming, which we wouldn't be able to do if we were meeting in person. There are strengths and weaknesses to both options, but we're seizing the opportunity, and we're going to have a wonderful 2021 Spring Institute. So as I mentioned, I was called in at the last minute to pitch hit for Sarah, and I'm going to give a quick highlight of what NOCAL has been up to over the last 2 years since our last Spring Institute. So if I keep on glancing off to the side, my notes are right here. My apologies. With the short notice, I'm going to be reading a little bit from some stuff that I have written down here. But, you know, as I was preparing these remarks, I am so grateful that I've had the opportunity to reflect on these past 2 years. What a difference 2 years has made. I think that this time in 2019, none of us could have anticipated where we are right now. As an association or as individuals, really. I know as I was preparing these remarks, I was looking over what I was doing after my Spring Institute ended and in the time leading up to our planned 2020 event. And I came across my New Year's Eve resolutions for 2020. And I thought it was kind of funny because I have achieved some of them. Number one on the list was to spend more time with my family, and boy, has that been accomplished. um, and I think that that many of us are glad that we've had that opportunity. I think that some of you have spent more time on Zoom with my daughter lately. She consistently pops her head in when we're on our Zoom social calls. So hello to you from Amelia. But it really has made me, and I think many of us, so grateful for our teachers, and boy, was I happy to drop her off at school this morning. That was wonderful. My second item on my list was to be more innovative at work. I was really trying to push our attorneys to move their workflows online. And boy, that one was definitely accomplished, but not by me pushing them online. It was by the pandemic pushing them online. I feel like my attorneys have made just leaps and bounds in their research skills when it comes to online research. And so I feel like I've also accomplished my goal of being innovative, because finding ways to connect them with the information that they need and to make that information findable in a remote work context has been a challenge, and I think one that all of us have had to face in some way or another. My third resolution was to travel more. I'm pleased to let you guys know that I managed to drive all the way to Modesto to get my first vaccine shot and plan to go back to get the second one. So check. Not the trip I wanted to be making, but honestly, it was nice to have a little road trip, even if it was to Modesto, and it was for a very good purpose. And then my last My last one was to support NoCal and to support Sarah Lynn in her role as president as we switched over mid-year, and that has been one of the highlights of my year, is supporting NoCal and all of the wonderful work that we have done over this past year. You know, I think in our professional lives and in our professional association, we've been working from home, but we have all been working very hard this year. And you know, I think some of us have a habit of choosing a year's a word for the year that we're going to meditate on and try to apply to our life. My word for 2020 was supposed to be leisurely. I was going to try to learn to manage my time better so that I could take my time as I got my daughter ready for school, as I did my commute to work, to not have that panicky late all the time feeling. Well, I don't think that anybody would describe 2020 as leisurely, but I did learn a lot about managing my time, just not in the way that I anticipated. All right, well, on that note, around this time last year, NoCal had a Zoom mixer and we talked about how we were doing. And I know that the early stages of the pandemic were challenging for many of us. And at that meeting, I said, folks, I manage my anxiety by planning things, and I don't know what's happening from day to day. I can't plan for anything right now. And there were a lot of very sympathetic laughs and comments. And one thing that somebody said, I think it was Mary Stats, shouted out, "You're among friends." And that has stuck with me through this whole year. NoCal has been where I've come to be among friends. When we have problems, we all have those problems. When we have pain points at work, we all have those pain points at work. And so I just want to remind everybody that NoCal is here to support you in your professional life moving forward. And over the past year, we really not just have been there to support each other in our social calls, which thank goodness we've had. Thank you to our networking committee for making those happen, but in our larger community. In June, we responded to the Black Lives Matter movement and to the death of George Floyd by issuing a Black Lives Matter statement. And in that statement, we had a number of action plans that we wanted to accomplish over this year, or rather over last year. We wanted to have some concrete agendas and goals so that instead of just saying something, we were really putting our actions into effect. Part of that was to make some donations, one-time donations to some organizations, including the new Black Law Librarians Special Interest Section, which used to be the BLL Caucus. We've made some donations to local scholarships and have some yet to make. We also acknowledge that we can't improve the metrics that we don't track. We would like to see more Black and Indigenous and people of color or BIPOC members in NoCal, but frankly, we weren't tracking how many we already had, and so we added a radio button to our membership profile so that people could self-identify as a BIPOC member. And we did this as an optional measure because we know that people's identities are personal and complicated. But if you identify as a Black or Indigenous or person of color, we hope that you'll consider indicating that on your profile. We want to try to create more of a pipeline into the profession. For everyone, but especially for BIPOC members. And to that end, we've added dedicated grant funds for people of color. with a goal of dedicating 50% of our grant funds to people of color within NoCal. But folks, you know, we can't give away that money if people don't apply for it. So this is just a plug. I know I saw a recent email from the grant committee go out reminding people that the money is there. Please apply for it. There is plenty for everyone. You will likely be funded if our if our statistics remain on par with past years. The money is there for the asking, so please apply. We've also created a student trustee role for Black and Indigenous and people of color who are students who are interested in getting into law librarianship, to give them a chance to kind of ride along and see what NoCal does, what law librarianship is like, and we hope that this will help bring people into the profession. We also have created a discounted membership for paraprofessionals and library technicians. So if you have someone within your organization that's interested in growing their skill set or are thinking about becoming a library professional and want to know more about NoCal, that is there for them. I believe that's a $10 membership at this point. We have also created some anti-bias training. Our first anti-bias training session was on September 11th of last year. I'm proud to say that 25% of our members attended that session. And we also took our Black Lives Matter statement and have made it into a resolution. So going forward, this will continue to be a priority for NoCal. I am really pleased and proud of all the work that we've done in this area, especially today, the day after the verdict in Michigan in the Derek Chauvin trial. I think it's so important that we have these discussions and continuing actions to combat systemic racism. And if you have more ideas on good work that we could be doing in this area, I invite you to let the nominations committee know that you have good ideas, and you would be a wonderful welcome addition to our NoCal board in future years. And of course, you can also just always reach out to the NoCal board. We have a wonderful incoming board, and thank you to our nominations committee for that. Now, with all of that, our work is not over yet. Sarah Lynn had a wonderful presidential statement in our most recent issue of the NoCal News, which is always a wonderful read, talking about disability access to online materials and some of the challenges that people with disabilities face in getting access to research materials, professional association materials, internal documents in the organizations where they work. And I found it very thought-provoking. Both of my parents had physical disabilities, but they were motion disabilities. So it wasn't blindness or deafness, it was an, inability to walk. My mom was in a wheelchair and my dad used two canes. And this is a kind of disability access that is not always at the forefront when people think about the ADA or other accessibility issues. So thank you to Sarah for highlighting it. I really encourage everyone to read that last column. And I was cheered to see that some of those issues were echoed in Christy Chamorro's first tech column. She took that over recently from Delia, who is doing a wonderful job of leading this Spring Institute. That tech column highlights a program in Google Chrome that will allow you to create closed captions, which honestly I find very useful, even though I don't have any sort of hearing disability. Sometimes it's just nice to have those available. So it's wonderful to see those issues getting more and more attention. And as I get to the end of this intro and welcome, I just want to say thank you guys for your support over this past year. Thank you for bringing us your concerns, your problems, your thoughts, your pain points. Your problems are our problems, and as we go forward in this new normal, I really hope that we can keep some of the things that we've learned over this last year. The ability to pause and to work from home when needed, to prioritize our health and the health of our loved ones, to prioritize equality in a professional setting. NoCal is here. We care about you. We care about your life. We care about your career. We care about your development as a person and as a professional. And when you're here, like Mary said, you're among friends. So thank you very much for joining us for our Spring Institute. I'm looking forward to all of the programming. Delia has a wonderful array of things. And thank you for coming this morning. Again, as you sign out for the next session, you'll just sign right back in on that same Zoom link. And again, one of the things we did in response to the BLM statement, which I think I may have skipped over when I did my recap, is to talk about our NoCal Code of Conduct. At all institutes, meetings, any sort of NoCal event, we have a code of conduct that is linked at the top of the chat section. And I encourage you at the beginning of this Spring Institute, maybe take the next 15 minutes before Delia's introduction to hop out, take a look at that, read through it. It just gives us some base expectations of how to behave and things to remember. And the thing that I think is most important is to assume the best of each other. And so let's do that and move forward together into 2021. The future is bright. It's been a year of challenges, but we've made it through together. All right, thank you very